Today we're making sweet potato gump. My name is Gabrielle Black and I will be taking you through the steps on how to make it. First, I started off by washing all my vegetables with water and white vinegar. I washed them off and now we will proceed to use the Instapot to cook all of the ingredients needed for this recipe. In order to cook my sweet potatoes in my Instapot, I have to click manual and adjust my time to 15 minutes. You also can use an oven and preheat your oven to 425 and cook your sweet potatoes for 45 minutes. Because I'm using an Instapot, I did fill my pot with both of the sweet potatoes I will be using and a fourth of the water. Let's get started cooking. So this is how you make the sauce for sweet potato gump. We've got our sour cream, and because I'm allergic, we've got vegan sour cream. We've got mustard, thyme, and garlic. Now, with your thyme, you're going to have to unpeel because they come on a strand and you're gonna have to unpeel all the leaves because it's probably not appealing to taste those pieces of bark. So we're gonna add it into our bowl, but first we're going to empty out our thyme into the bowl. See, we got those small little leaves in there. I tried to get all the extra bark. We're gonna empty out our mustard as well. And the good thing is if you don't get it out all at the first time, it's okay. And after we get that mustard out, we've got to get another teaspoon. Sorry, I forgot to say the measurements as well. So I've got a half teaspoon of thyme, a half teaspoon of garlic, 1 tablespoon of mustard, and then we've got a 1/3 cup of our sour cream, and we're just gonna set these over there. Take that sour cream, empty it out. Try my best to get a 1/3. Try and get everything out of there. After we got everything, we're gonna mix all our ingredients. Now that my sweet potatoes are cooked, I'm going to cook my chicken. Again, I'm going to press manual and adjust the time to 6 minutes on my Instapot. And then we are gonna put that lid over there and get it started. You also can get a pot of water and boil chicken for 30 minutes as another alternative if you're not using the Instapot. As well as you want to get your oven ready for the sweet potato shells. So now that I have my sweet potatoes cooked, I have my chef knife to cut my sweet potatoes in half. I do my halves a long ways. As you can see, they've split. If they split like that, I would suggest just cutting along that split. That way you don't have different sized sweet potatoes. I also have my olive oil and my, we'll call it a paintbrush for coating the shells in olive oil. So I'm gonna start taking my chef knife and we are going to adjust your fingers so that there's no way that you can accidentally cut yourself, and cut them in half, like so. Now that you have your halves, we'll wait to do the other one first. You're just gonna scoop the insides in a bowl that you have prepared. Try not to destroy the outside shell as I just did on this side. If that happens, there's no issue, you just simply take it out. But you wanna try and get as much sweet potato out as you can without trying to ruin the shell, since that shell is quite important in the end product. So now I have my sweet potato shells ready, and the reason why I have tinfoil is because I attempted these previously and they did not turn out like shells. So we've got our olive oil in our container, again our brush. So we're just going to brush and just make sure they're coated well. The oil is going to make it technically fry, and that is what we want so that it stays its shape. Once you've got the whole inside, you're going to flip it over and try and get the back side. I think it's easier when you lift it up to paint it like that. Again, make sure that your hands are washed. If they are not, I hope you are feeding yourself that, or you just have magically really clean hands. So once you've got it coated, you're gonna take your tin foil and you're gonna roll it up really close to the shell at first. And once you've done that, then you're going to grip part of the side of the shell and tuck it in. This is so that it holds and doesn't budge, but you get to keep that shell shape. And also make sure that it's all secure. If you've gone too far in, you can always reverse the tinfoil and go back. Keep proceeding to roll inwards, inwards, inwards. And then you wrap it like a bowl, basically, is what you're trying to do. Push it down if you need, so that you've got some sort of a bowl shape, and set them in there. Once your sweet potatoes are in the oven, you're gonna want the oven to be at 350 and cook your shells for about 10 minutes. But keep an eye on them so they don't burn, and you wanna keep an eye on them so that they are in fact crispy. If need be, you can add time. And while everything is cooking, you might as well grab a mug and drink something good. Because the chicken is almost cooked, I suggest getting your quinoa ready. We are gonna need a ½ cup. I do suggest rinsing it out prior to cooking it. The reason for this is it just has a better taste. Because I cooked my chicken, I just want to make sure that it is cooked fully. So I got my chef knife again and a fork just to cut it down the middle. See what we got. If the inside is still pink and or you're unsure, be sure to cook it for a little longer. It looks like we do have, in fact, a little pink, so we're gonna cook it just a little more. Because the chicken was uncooked completely, I'm going to do another manual button, and we're gonna do it just for 3 minutes to make sure. If you're really unsure, you can do it as much as 6 again. It will not make the chicken taste much different compared to moist and or dry, just because when you add water in there, it doesn't change the texture by any means. It just completely cooks it because it is a pressure cooker. Something I also thought I'd mention too is you want it on the ceiling, not the venting, but everything that I've used with the Instapot, once the timer goes off, I completely just turn it over to the venting. That way it releases quicker and I can cook faster and get things done. There is no particular reason why I picked red bell pepper. It is only because I prefer the taste rather than a green bell pepper. Typically I would do more jalapeno, but because usually when I make this meal, I make it for other people, and tonight I'm making it for my fiance. He does not like it terribly spicy, so we're gonna stick with the recipe of having a half. If it were me, I'd probably use the whole jalapeno. But we're gonna start with cutting it. Because these are not preferably usable pieces, I'm gonna set them aside, and we are going to attempt to cut this bad boy. Again, chef knife, claw. Just don't cut your fingers. I know I've said before, if you do cut your fingers, please call 911. I will not be able to reach out and help you, but we've got our chef knife. We're just slightly gliding through, making these nice cuts. Again, making sure you're not gonna cut off your fingers. I want them diced, and so because I want them diced, I cut them like this. I'm gonna cut them right in the middle, so now you got, this will be easier. So So now you've got a slice and a slice. Gonna keep those like so. And be able to glide to make, pardon me, some nice, even looking bell peppers. For instance, pick some up there. So the recipe calls for half a red bell pepper and a fourth jalapeno. Because we're doubling it, I am doing a whole red bell pepper and half of a jalapeno. Now, as you can see, I already minced this finely, and I chopped these into small dice. Again, I can show you how we did the small dice. Claw, chef knife, don't cut your fingers. The first video would have been better if my Nana didn't show up, so we're just gonna retry. Make this interesting. You wanna guide your finger. Oops, well, we'll just make sure you don't cut anything, but you got your pretty good sized few off bell peppers as diced. Now for the jalapeno sake, to make it so finely, I keep the tip of the knife on the board. Keep your hand completely on the top of the neck of the knife and just kind of chop it finely. It does take some time and you gotta move your knife sometimes, but it's quite fun. And it gets your jalapenos finely chopped. Now, whew, that's a good jalapeno. Whew. He doesn't want to be in the video, but again, so I attempted this time to use tin foil to make the shape. I got the shape pretty good. How I liked it, it's just not as predominant as I wanted it, but better this time than last. So now I'm gonna cook the quinoa. I've got my cup of water. A trick to always know is when you're cooking quinoa, whatever amount you're cooking at, double the water, and that's how you cook it. So I'm putting the water in my Instant Pot with my quinoa. Don't forget to rinse your quinoa before you cook it. We're gonna manually again, but for just 1 minute this time. You also can put it in a pot of water and boil it on the stove, and your quinoa should cook around 30 minutes or so. So now that our chicken is completely cooked, the insides are no longer pink, we are going to take off all the fat excess that leaks on top of it. For instance here, you just scrape it off with your fork, push it to the side, and when you're scraping, you want to go opposite of the grains so that you get that finely shredded chicken. So we're gonna keep doing that. And that, my friends, is how you get the shredded chicken. Sauté. You can smell the heat. Alright, so now we are going to make the mixture. So I have my sauteed vegetables. I'm going to combine half of them into the sweet potato mixture that we had in the very beginning. Try and get all those jalapenos in there. It's very important. Keep it in the pan. Then we've got all our shredded chicken. If you ever need to measure out your chicken, I suggest buying a weigher. They're perfect for weighing out anything, just tar or 0 before, and you'll be good. If you ever need to do meat, I suggest doing tin foil or some type that you can just throw immediately. But then we're gonna add our chicken inside the mixture. As well as our quinoa. Should have grabbed a bigger scoop for this. All your ingredients in there, sauteed, sweet potato, chicken, quinoa. Then we're gonna mix. Take two. No, I'm just kidding. But because the shells did not present themselves again how I imagined they would, we're gonna stick with having the quinoa as the bed and then having the shells on top. Get your ice cream scooper and you're gonna scoop an amount like an ice cream scoop and just scoop them on top. Try and make them look just cute and round. Compact them in there. Ooh. On both shells. I also decided to do bowls. It looked more appealing than doing plates. So we changed up the idea of how it's supposed to look just a little bit. And there you have your scoops. Now because this sauce is on the thicker side due to the vegan sour cream, I did put it in a Ziploc bag and we're gonna cut the corner off, just like so. Squeeze as much as you can to the bottom, and we will come over here and decorate the top, and you just squeeze it out. And now we're taking the rest of our sauteed vegetables and just neatly stacking them on the side of it. I also decided to add a cute little decoration. As I said in my essay part, I wanted additional sauce on the side. I just decided to make it cute and have 4 little sections of it on the side. And once you've got all that put in there, take a paper towel. We're gonna wipe off anything on the side, top too much. That way it looks clean and presentable. We'll scoop these vegetables in just a little bit. That way I'm not touching them. And it looks like we got some quinoa hanging off. And there you go. Sweet potato gum. Again, for the sweet gump, I wanted to go over the ingredients once more. I have 2 sweet potatoes, 8 ounces of chicken, 1 whole red bell pepper, 1/2 of a jalapeno, and 1/2 cup of quinoa. And this is ingredients for 2 people. And the sauce consists of 1/3 of sour cream, 1 tablespoon of mustard, 1 teaspoon of garlic, and 1 teaspoon of thyme leaves. This meal is really great for dipping using chips and or crackers. It potentially could be in a salad if you had leftovers and wanted some really good ingredients to add to your salad. I also know that this recipe could be vegan if you substituted the chicken out for beans or just didn't have the chicken at all. The quinoa provides a good amount of protein. You do have a lot of carbs, as well as you're getting your vegetables and definitely some fats. It's quite tasty, not too spicy, just right. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this recipe and go home and try it. It's quite simple, not too many ingredients, but quite tasty. I don't know what else to say. But go home, try it.
Go home and try it and tell me how it is. The link at the bottom, they always do that as like a thing. I'm just trying to be famous.